This is a News 36 special report. Tom Miller's German Journal. Tonight, a close-up look at the new link between the Carolinas and Germany and what it will mean to you. Plus, a visit to the Berlin Wall to hear about the hopes and fears of Germans as they face reunification. And Tom Miller gives you a taste of life in the old country with a visit to an authentic German brewery and a ride on the Autobahn.
Good evening from Frankfurt, West Germany. I'm Tom Miller, News 36. Tonight, a special look at the new connection between the Carolinas and Germany and what it could mean to you in the not-too-distant future. The establishment of our new flight between Charlotte and Frankfurt marks the first time that Charlotte's had a direct link to continental Europe. It also puts the Queen City on a level with other important international cities like New York, London, Paris, and Atlanta. But even more importantly, it will have a profound impact on the people who work and live in the greater Charlotte area. Kurt Lee reports now on the arrival of the inaugural flight in Charlotte and what it could eventually mean to you.
August 1st, 1990. The giant German jet catches every eye with its first appearance at Charlotte Douglas Airport. A brass band trumpeted the arrival of 24 top executives, many making their first visit here. What does that mean for us? The Chamber of Commerce says jobs.
We have a lot of foreign companies here now, many from Europe, and I think this will only increase that. I take a look at Atlanta.
Here's Atlanta's picture. In 1978, Sabena Airlines started that city's first European link to Brussels, Belgium. At that time, Georgia had 348 foreign-owned firms. Now, Georgia has 1,322 foreign-owned firms and 9 international airlines. Charlotte has 68 German companies. We asked the chief executive of one of the largest, what effect do you expect from the nonstop link?
We are saving at least 3 to 4 hours one-way flight. And it can attract additional investors here.
Danzas Air Freight is finding plenty of business in Charlotte. The chief executive from Frankfurt was aboard that maiden flight.
We started 20 years ago in Charlotte to develop this area, and we have expanded now to Spartanburg, Atlanta, Greensboro, High Point, Richmond, just to mention a few cities.
Do you think the expansion will continue?
Oh yeah, sure, there's no question.
But will the foreign investment be good for us? American products are falling behind, from cars to textiles. Foreign investment, it's claimed, will keep American standards up.
People are very concerned that we are selling our business to foreigners. But what we are expecting is that foreigners are coming in with new technologies.
And one business expected to get new life from Germans, tourism, with Grand Strand beaches, a top attraction. Kurt Lee, News 36.
The first flight from Charlotte to Frankfurt gave some of our local leaders the opportunity to laud Lufthansa for establishing the transatlantic link. It also gave them a chance to see firsthand how Germany maintains and operates one of the largest airports in the world. The arrival of the inaugural flight from Charlotte brought the Queen City's direct link with Frankfurt full circle. Carolina delegates praised Lufthansa as they received a champagne welcome and good news about the air link between Charlotte and Frankfurt.
We will enlarge it. We will have daily flights within the next 2 years at least, and so we will go ahead with our friendship. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome again here in Germany.
Thank you. We have enjoyed it so far. It's been wonderful.
Lufthansa says that when those daily flights begin, they will be exclusive Charlotte to Frankfurt flights, not coupled with Houston service.
I think it's extraordinary and visionary and would be wonderful. And I hope he's right that in several years we can have daily flights, because I think it even further will expand the markets.
In addition to the red carpet treatment, the Carolinas delegation saw firsthand some of the differences between Frankfurt Main Airport and their own in Charlotte, like the shopping and diversions they provide for weary travelers. And there was a startling difference: government security guards armed with automatic weapons. It's a necessity at this airport, which serves as a hub for Mideastern countries. A plane lands every 45 seconds during peak times at Frankfurt Airport, flooding the terminal with 40,000 travelers at any given time. It's a challenge for an airline like Lufthansa, which guarantees passengers and luggage will make connecting flights in 45 minutes or less. They back up that pledge with this high-speed computerized conveyor system. North Carolina's Secretary of Economic Development was impressed.
I was amazed when I saw that, to saw how they were able to handle as many bags as they do, error-free, and get those bags from the plane to the either to another plane or to the passenger within a matter of minutes.
Despite all this high-speed, high-tech, Lufthansa officials admit they had more than 10,000 hours in delays last year that cost the company $60 million. As Kurt mentioned, the business potential of this new European airlink is very promising for the Charlotte area, but the door of opportunity swings both ways. We traveled to Meurs near Cologne and found a company from Indian Trail, North Carolina, which is already making its mark here in Germany. It looks like a microwave oven, but the technology that CEM exports to West Germany is much more. It's a microwave system that allows manufacturers to carefully measure the ingredients in their products to meet strict German regulations. Water is the cheapest ingredient in this soft cheese. If the technicians don't keep the water content as high as possible, the company loses money.
Secondly, it is possible that we have to pay a punishment for it.
If you go over the limit?
Yes, right.
Pay to the government?
Pay to the government, right.
In 1992, common market restrictions on German companies will become tighter. CEM's managing director in Germany tells us that is increasing demand for the company's microwave measuring system.
Next year, we expect to have between 4 and 6 million in turnover per year.
That's pretty substantial growth.
Yeah, but the market is there.
Can American companies coming over here expect to do that well?
If they have the right product, yes.
The recipe for success also includes the right attitude. Justin Hunt, NCNB's representative in Frankfurt, says American business must replace its obsession with quarterly increases in profits with patience.
That would, in my estimation, be the single most difficult thing to overcome.
Not to expect a profit after the first quarter.
No, nor even in the first year or two, possibly. But to be prepared for some sacrifice in the short run to establish a good foothold here.
While it's unusual to find a Charlotte area company doing business in Germany, it's easy to find a German company in Charlotte. In fact, as Kurt Lee reports, Charlotte has long been popular with German businessmen.
The construction company which built the first Union Tower is German-owned. And that company also built the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center. And J.A. Jones Construction also hopes to build Charlotte's new NFL Stadium. Jones employs 800 here. Its parent company, Philip Holzman. Top executive, Dieter Rothko.
When I came to Charlotte 10 years ago, there were only few companies in the Southeast. And Charlotte was getting more and more attractive to foreign investors.
None found Charlotte more attractive than the Germans. Of 249 foreign firms here, 68 are German-owned, compared to 35 from the next closest nation, Great Britain. The Swiss are third with 31. What's the attraction?
Charlotte's business environment was just perfect. The workforce was willing to adjust to work for foreign companies. And so far, we are very satisfied.
The Charlotte Chamber of Commerce says that bottom line that's favored foreign firms has been good for us, too.
The record is they've all done very well, and there's about 249 in Mecklenburg County, which employ about 18,000 people, which may not have jobs if they were not here.
The first new jobs here at Butler Aviation, 50 were hired to do the ground support for the Lufthansa jet at Charlotte Douglas Airport. Kurt Lee, News 36.
With those German companies have come a lot of new visitors. In fact, there are about 15,000 Germans living in the Charlotte area, and for some, the adjustment has been interesting.
Germans who recall their first impressions of Charlotte might not mention the skyline. Instead, the way we talk here.
You all come back now? That's so
Come back. We say that all the time, but Germans don't.
It was one of my first experience. Everybody was very friendly. And before they left, they always said, come back and see us. So I did that. And they were very surprised to see me there. And I couldn't...
As president of the Alemannia Society here, Ingeborg Arnig speaks for many Germans. Her friend, fellow German Hildegard Strasser, sees differences in the ways here.
There are a lot of things that are different, and I consider them better.
The one thing I thought, the smiling and the laughing about people, I think it's a very nice way.
Charlotteans often complain about traffic.
They complain because they get stuck maybe once a month in traffic or so. I mean, they really don't know what getting stuck in traffic means.
New Germans don't like the speed limit and lament slower education, in particular geography. But the bottom line from a 17-year resident German:
we were only going to come for a year and a half, and then we liked it so much and we stayed.
Kurt Lee, News 36.
Coming up, the price of freedom. The deputy mayor of Berlin talks about the hopes and fears of reunification. Plus, Carolina soldiers in West Germany. What will reunification mean to them?
The establishment of a link between the Carolinas and Germany couldn't come at a more opportune, more important time in German history. The pending reunification of East and West Germany opens up even more opportunities than before. We traveled to Berlin, where we found that East and West Berliners have both high hopes and fears about the future.
The Germans call it Der Mauer, the wall. Built in 1961 by the Soviets, it formed a 100-mile double ring around West Berlin. Its purpose, to prevent East Berliners from crossing into West Berlin and from there into the free world. Then, last November, the wall began to crumble, a result of monumental political changes sweeping throughout the Eastern Bloc countries.
This is some of what's left of the Berlin Wall. Since 1961, it had stood as a very real, very imposing symbol of the split between East and West Germany. It also symbolized the division between the communist world and our own.
But now, and on the very spot where part of the wall once stood, merchants sell pieces of it to souvenir hunters.
Was ist das?
Mauerstein.
Ja?
Mauer.
But the carnival atmosphere here in the shadow of the Brandenburg Gate belies the concern some have over the coming together of East and West. The deputy mayor of West Berlin explains why some of her citizens actually wish the wall was back.
Fear for all the costs of this whole thing, because we will have a lot of social costs in the GDR, and especially the ones that are not so good off in our country think that maybe the money will be taken from them.
But there are more immediate concerns. With so many foreigners flooding into West Berlin, they are besieged by crowds, traffic, and pollution from the east, like that of the two-cycle cars driven by most East Berliners. And long lines at stores are making shopping an ordeal.
You want to make shopping now in West Berlin, that's impossible to get a car. And to make shopping, you have to wait half hour to get the car.
And the shift to a new economy is squeezing East Berliners as well.
Future is not so good for us. We have the main problem is unemployment. My husband lost his job already, and I'm going to lose a job. From next week, I'm going to start a part-time job as a secretary.
Deputy Mayor Stammer feels that for East and West, the price of freedom is responsibility. That means learning to control your own destiny.
They've had such a central command work. No one could think by himself. No one could decide things by himself. This is what they have to learn. And as soon as this learning process goes on, I think it will be a real good opportunity for Germany and for Europe.
For all the positive effects the pending reunification of the two Germanys could have, it could also have a negative impact on the careers of U.S. servicemen stationed here, and that includes many from the Carolinas. We caught up with troops of the 3rd Armored Division during training just outside of Frankfurt.
This is Drake Caserne, home to some of the 17,000 American soldiers of the U.S. Army's 3rd Armor and Infantry Division. Their mission to repel attack by any Eastern Bloc country. For soldiers from the Carolinas, life on this Frankfurt base can be both pleasant and frustrating. Private First Class James Harris of Charlotte has been here almost 2 years. He says he's enjoyed seeing other parts of Germany.
On the weekends, you can get 4-day passes and go like to Switzerland and Australia.
Have you done that much?
I've been to Holland, Amsterdam a couple times.
You enjoyed that?
Yeah, it was all right.
But for many, like Raleigh Walker, a gunner from Spivey's Corner, adjusting to the German lifestyle is difficult.
People don't speak the same language, so sometimes it's hard to communicate, and
makes it a little bit hard to get out and meet people.
In addition to that awkwardness, there is now uncertainty and concern that the reunification of Germany will sharply reduce the role of the 3rd Armored Division.
It's a possibility. Of course, the wall went down so quick, anything's possible anymore. We were just waiting for word to come from Washington to tell us how we're going to respond to the budget cuts.
The military careers of officers like 2nd Lieutenant Robert Rhine of Morven, North Carolina, near Charlotte, are secure. But Rhine knows those below the rank of lieutenant face an uncertain future.
You're always promised a home, and you're always promised to be taken care of in the military. And that was what they were being stable off of. And now they're looking at they're going to have to get out and go into civilian life, and it's tough on them.
Many of the soldiers stationed here asked us to pass along the universal message to the folks back home, so here it is. Hi, Mom.
Up next, high speeds and high tech. A drive on Germany's Autobahn, plus a visit to a German brewery.
Welcome back to our special on Germany. You know, there are many quaint villages just a short distance from Frankfurt. We are in Rudesheim along the banks of the Rhine River. The castle remains you see behind me are nearly 1,000 years old. The vineyards here grow some of the grapes that may be in your table wine with your evening meal. There are a number of ways to get to these villages. Some take the trains, some take riverboats, but many Germans prefer traveling by car because it is so fast. And the reason for that is the Autobahn.
It seems like Charlotte Motor Speedway. Cars roaring down the Autobahn at speeds of up to 220 kilometers per hour. That's 138 miles per hour in the U.S. Slow by NASCAR standards, but keep in mind, these are not professional drivers.
This is life in the fast lane on the Autobahn. I'm doing about 140 kilometers, 85 miles per hour. Somebody right on my bumper urging me to get over in no uncertain terms. I'm going to let him do just that. He's probably doing about 95 or better.
There are long stretches of the Autobahn where there are no speed limits at all. We talked with some travelers along the road. Not all of them think faster is better.
I think it's a terrible thing, traffic.
In fact, in 1988, the Autobahn had about half the death rate of the U.S. interstate system.
But you don't feel it's dangerous?
No.
You like it?
Yes, I like it, yes.
In an effort to hold down the death toll, radar-activated high-speed cameras have been set up on the Autobahn. They will photograph your license plate if you drive too fast where there are speed limits, and the fines are heavy. And before you get too envious of this German speedway, just like our interstates, there are traffic jams on the Autobahn, too.
By the way, there is one more unusual thing about driving here in Germany. It is the traffic lights. Now, like most cities, they turn yellow right before they turn red to stop you. But here in Germany, they also turn yellow right before they turn green to give you time to get that foot on the gas and get it in gear. And if you don't go just as soon as it turns green, somebody's going to lay on the horn. You know, no visit to Germany would be complete without sampling of the local drink. And of course, that means beer. Just about every town and city has its own local brewery. We visited one in Frankfurt. Now, if you're expecting the story of the little old German brewmeister, you're in for a surprise because this brewery is strictly high-tech.
Germans have been drinking Henninger beer for more than a century. The ingredients of German beers are controlled by the government. That means they're made with more hops than American beers and never contain corn or rice like some American beers. Today, the Henninger brewing process is all computer controlled. This brewery turns out pasteurized beer at the rate of 60,000 bottles an hour. There are so many breweries in Germany, they keep 55,000 people employed. And the typical German beer drinker consumes about 63 gallons of beer each year. But we're told that alcoholism is not widespread in Germany because here it's a tradition for most Germans to do their drinking at mealtime.
Beer is for the German drinker more like a food, not for enjoyment. He drinks it for food, not for enjoyment.
Last year, the Henninger Brewery alone sold 1.5 million barrels of their beer. They feel part of that success is due to the water they use in their brewing process.
We have our own spring for brewing water, and it's a very clean and good brewing water.
At one end of the Henninger Brau Brewery, there is a tavern where people can sample the fruits of the brewery's labors. And management says that includes the workers.
Oh yes, I think that's the best thing to drink a beer.
They're allowed to?
Oh yes, it's allowed.
While they're working?
Yes, they can drink. If it's not too much, they can drink it during the work.
How does German beer compare with American? Well, the alcohol content is just about the same, but the Germans say their beer is more full-bodied. They say that ours tastes like lemonade.
Tom Miller's German Journal will continue.
Welcome back to the Sachsenhausen neighborhood, an area filled with sidewalk cafes and bars. We'd like to give you a final word about something you see all over Germany, and we're not talking about sports cars, we're talking about flowers. Even this restaurant, Zur Blume, is named the flower. And for Germans, the significance of the flower goes much deeper.
You can see them almost everywhere, from street level to window boxes. Even in East Berlin, where the sullen buildings present a depressing view, flowers seem to give you a sense of renewal.
I see it as a contrast to the sadness of this district, to have flowers in the windows. And flowers, I think, is also a symbol of life, and so far I think it's good that we have the flowers here.
In fact, we're told that at the close of World War II, an American general noticed how the Germans were tending their flower boxes, even in the bombed-out remnants of their homes. He noted that any country whose citizens could grow flowers in the midst of such upheaval knew a lot about overcoming adversity. Now, with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the opening of a gateway to the Carolinas, the sight of flowers reminds us that the German people have a knack for flourishing, even through times of transition.
Well, that wraps it up from Frankfurt, West Germany. I hope you've enjoyed our special report and that we've given you some insight into the economic possibilities here and a taste of the German lifestyle. Thanks for watching. Reporting from Frankfurt, I'm Tom Miller, News 36. Guten Abend and auf Wiedersehen.